that they or their group are the critical theorists of the systemic foundation, the chief analysts of the system's architecture. But the greatest difficulty is that no one can be held accountable. No one can be forced up against the wall and questioned. No one can be interrogated by asking them, "You bastard! What is the philosophy behind these rules and regulations? Why, according to what logic, did you create these rules and regulations? Who are you?" No person who is part of the system can ever provide an answer, neither the officers nor the other employees working in the prison. All they can say is, "I'm sorry, I'm just following orders." In reality, those who are apparently part of the system also have no idea what is going on. They just enter the prison for 2 weeks, they doggedly carry out the rules and the regulations, and they leave the island. The system can be summed up in one way. First, a condition of dependency is established. Then that dependency is framed in the context of micro-control and macro-control governmentality. Even though the interconnections vary, eating is a necessity, and prisoners have no choice but to hustle to meet this basic need. And this is the point. This is the tactic used to keep them in captivity. Like being caught in a spider's web, the harder you struggle, the more entangled you become. Starvation has two objectives: to implement a variety of control mechanisms in the minds of prisoners, and to make the prisoners enmeshed and complicit in the system. The prisoner's stomach leads him to know the system, and after reacting with resistance and going through draining, drawn-out phases of action in solidarity with others, nothing. It leads nowhere. Nothing. No answers to his futile questions. Nowhere. Nowhere except the threshold of insanity. He suffers through a form of oppression, the origins of which are hidden from him. Isn't it better to be just like the cow and the mules, to refrain from rebelling, to cooperate with the system? Well, yes, maybe. This might be the simplest and easiest method. This method may reduce the suffering. It may mean there is less to endure. And this is exactly what the system is based on and is designed to accomplish, to tame, to produce fragments of metal, a production line, a factory. We have become a replica of caged baby chickens. The prison has become a replica of a chicken coop, modern, industrial. The hierarchical system presents the prisoner with the blueprint, that's right. And that blueprint is manifested in the cow. In simpler terms, whoever wants to endure less suffering must live like the cow. Eat, sleep, don't come up with any questions. You can't understand the system. Even the officers are ignorant. You shouldn't rebel. Just submit to the power of the rules and regulations according to our basic needs. Every prisoner needs to eat. Every prisoner who smokes needs cigarettes. Every prisoner needs access to the phone. And sometimes, every prisoner might fall in and require medicine. I imagine the intertwining rooms in the area behind the prison. The administrative quarters with employees wearing uniforms or formal clothes, sitting behind their desks, typing away regularly, writing daily reports about events within the prison. There are other employees as well. Employees with large dossiers under their arms. They walk back and forth between the offices and halls. The regular sound of business shoes. Tick, tick. The longer the time in prison, the greater and more elaborate my imaginary office scene becomes. The rooms multiply to such an extent that I imagine a multi-level building behind the prison. The top floor of this building is surely occupied by old men and women with white hair. They sit behind a slick oval conference table. Formal meetings behind closed doors. Yes, these stylish old women, these stylish old men, they need to be confronted. Right in the middle of an official meeting, as they draw up plans for new rules and regulations, they must be confronted by suddenly opening the door and bashing down on the oval conference table. Right at that moment, it's necessary to cry out, "You bastards, you've been caught out. Where's your boss?" But as usual, the big boss is nowhere to be found. Whatever the question, whoever you ask within the prison, the answer is the same. The boss has given orders. Whenever a stubborn prisoner makes fruitless inquiries and finds the boss of that individual who has said, "The boss has given orders," and then confronts that person, the person also responds with, "The boss has given orders." It's just a pointless effort. All the rules, all the regulations, and all the questions about those rules and regulations are all referred back to one person, the boss. It is astonishing how the boss also responds with, "The boss has given orders." A long chain ascending through the hierarchy. The bureaucratic ranks are determined by relationships of power. Every boss is subordinate to another boss. And the superior boss is also subordinate to another boss. If one investigated this chain, it would possibly lead to thousands of other bosses, all of them repeating the one thing: the boss has given orders. As time drags on in the prison, the oppression inflicted by the boss becomes more destructive, more violent. In a way, the notion of the boss in our imagination becomes paler and paler, so much that later on I don't even feel he's in that tall multi-storey building behind the prison. Perhaps the boss has accompanied other bosses off the island to inhabit a larger building, off to a distant city, off to a distant land, off to a place beyond the ocean, a place with thousands upon thousands of tall buildings, a place right next to the Parliament, a place with women and men decked out even more stylishly, all gathered around an oval conference table for a meeting. There are certainly other wise old women and other wise old men in attendance, also sitting around the oval conference table, a table with a red finish. The system is now simpler. The officers write reports in notebooks. At the end of the day, they're all transferred to the multi-storey building behind the prison. Many extremely hard-working employees type up the notes. Finally, they are summarised and formalised into an official dossier and delivered to the office for the bosses. Necessary decisions are made up there and sent upstairs to the next floor. Other employees are deployed there, working on the dossiers. Subsequently, the whole dossier is summarised into a smaller dossier. Again, it is sent to the office for the bosses on that floor. Important decisions are made there, and then the dossier is transferred upstairs to the next floor. Once again, on the new floor, similar activities are carried out, and then again on the next floor up, and then again from there up to the next floor. Just like that. The dossier garners an array of official approvals and multiple signatures from the bosses. With these, it moves up higher and higher until eventually it reaches the top floor and is placed on an oval conference table.